Welcome into another edition of Rams Roundup, the first edition here in 2016. Matt Moro, pleased to be joined, as always, by Fordham head coach Jeff Neubauer. Coach, a little late, but Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, well, thank you. We are 5 games into our Atlantic 10 schedule. We've seen some fierce competition. We've been on the road. We won our first A-10 game here at home, so we've experienced quite a bit.
Absolutely. Let's take a look back at that really long break in between your last non-conference game and the first A-10 game at GW. You go 12 days without a game for this squad. Is that a tough challenge for the coaching staff, knowing that these guys have almost a 2-week layoff, but you got to keep them sharp and focused coming into such a tough stretch for the A-10?
Yeah, we actually schedule that way every year around Christmas. So our belief is that we need 4 days at Christmas for our guys to get away, get home, spend time with their families. Back when I was a college player, we literally got 36 hours for our Christmas break, and I've just decided not to do that. So we're going to have about a 10-day break every single year around Christmas. It's part of the schedule, and we've actually recovered from that quite well in years past. Hopefully we can learn from this year's experience, and it'll make us better in future years.
So you mentioned you've already been through so much at the start of this A-10 schedule, and you had to go on the road to take on George Washington in your first A-10 game. Hadn't been on the road since the first game of the season, and the defense kept you in that one. It was a tough battle until the end. The Colonials come out on top. But what did you like about your team's effort and defense in that first game, especially on a tough environment?
Yeah, GW is certainly one of the better teams in the A-10, and our guys competed very well, meaning the defense kept us around. So we were not terrific in the first half offensively. We really struggled to score, but we did guard, and our defense gave us a chance. We had a breakaway layup down 5 with about 3 minutes to go. So we had an opportunity to cut it to 3, and so we didn't win the game. And that's very disappointing. We're very competitive as a coaching staff and as a team. However, our defense did give us something that we could be proud of.
You're obviously new to the Atlantic 10 as a head coach here at Fordham, but you're not new to conference basketball. You know how tough it is when you're seeing teams year after year and multiple times a year. So how important was it after that good effort, but you come up short, to turn around the next game at home and get the first conference win?
Well, for our guys, it was very important. So we beat LaSalle in here, and it was a great basketball game. We did talk after the game about that's what conference basketball is. It's 2 teams competing and then executing, one of them executing better than the other down the final 4 or 5 minutes of the game. So our guys did a good job against multiple defenses in that game. Really proud of that effort and proud to get a win.
The next game against Richmond was another exciting one. Came a little bit in short in that one too, but because of those 2 efforts, Ryan Rhoomes was the co-A-10 player of the week the following week. What can you say about what he has brought to this team this year?
Well, Rhoomes has certainly improved. He's been terrific. He has become a post presence, which the previous 3 years in his career, he has not been that. So he's always been a great rebounder and a good defender. Now what he's added is a post game to his attack. That Richmond game, actually, the first 11 minutes of that game was probably the best that we've played. And we had a 15-point lead in the first half. And so, again, we didn't win the game, and I understand that to all our fans that's disappointing, and it's disappointing us as well. But literally, for us to play as well as we did to start the game, the first 11 minutes offensively and defensively, that's something that we're trying to build on.
Obviously, the next 2 results are results that you didn't want to have. You have to go on the road to 2 tough places, VCU and St. Joe's, and come away with 2 of the tougher losses on the season. With back-to-back results like that, what's the next challenge like when you move on to a George Mason? You get to come back home, but how do you take those 2 games and say, all right, guys, this is how we're going to look at results we didn't want to have, and this is how we're going to spin them into a positive?
Well, our defense really has struggled those last couple games, and so part of that's being on the road, part of that's playing against very good teams, but we've got to do better. So that certainly has been our stress, meaning the reason we won early in the season was because our man-to-man defense created problems for other teams. Our man-to-man defense created no problems for VCU or St. Joe's. We're going to get better.
The next 2 games, George Mason and Dayton, are here back at the Rose Hill Gym. Is there any comfortability now being back with the guys and the players that, hey, this is a place we've won a lot this year. We're back in a place that we know how to win?
I'm not exactly sure how our players feel about that. They should have confidence in this building. To me, it's more about getting back to playing basketball the right way and playing with amazing effort. So I don't usually fault our team's effort, but I will say that our value for the ball has not been what it needs to be. and our defensive effort is not what it needs to be, and the results have shown. So we're going to improve in those two areas.
Fordham basketball head coach Jeff Neubauer here on Rams Roundup. Coach, as always, thanks for giving us a few minutes.
Thank you, Matt.
Now joined by senior forward Ryan Rhoomes. And Ryan, you've gotten off to a tremendous start, and now past the start, you've really had a tremendous senior campaign so far. And as one of the senior captains, there was a lot to come into this year with for you and Mandel, and a new regime, a new system to really go over. Now that you've gotten yourself into multiple games into the A-10 season, can you take us a little bit through how you felt this really halfway point of the season has gone for you guys?
We was happy with the wins that we got non-conference, but, trying to carry it over now. We had a couple of rough games in a row, but, hopefully we get back on track, winning at home and see where it go from there.
We'll certainly get to those games in just a few minutes, but we haven't been able to speak to any of you guys since the holiday break. So how was that break for you? Did you do anything? Did you get to go home, or were you here for the most part? And there was such a long layoff between games, the BC and the George Washington game, 12 days. What is that layoff like as well, not having to play a game for almost 2 weeks?
It was real good to, go home and finally spend time with your family and all that. But I was kind of mad that we didn't have at least one more non-conference game. But it was good to, just relax and have a break for a little bit.
So coming into the conference schedule, obviously you guys played so well at home in the non-conference schedule, but from being in it, the Atlantic 10 is such a ton conference. You had to start on the road, a place you hadn't been since the first game of the year, against one of the top teams in the conference in George Washington. How did the team kind of face that challenge and go in head on? Because the defense kept you in that game. It became a close game at the end. What was the challenge like going into that first A-10 contest this year?
We knew GZ was real good. We knew that we're going to have to compete at a high level. But I think, more of the freshmen was a little nervous. Me and Dell have been through it for 4 years now, so we never knew what was going to happen. But, the defense had to be better. It has to be better now. It was good that game, but it just has to be better. We have to make more shots. Our offense has to get a lot better as well. So, we knew the conference is tough. It's always tough. It's never no easy game. So, we just knew that we had to, tell the freshmen, just relax and, just play your game.
That being said, with no easy games ever in an Atlantic 10 schedule, how important was it to get that first A-10 win against LaSalle the next game?
It was real important. We wish we would have had Richmond too, because we would have been, sitting a little comfortable more than we are now. But it was real important to get that one, especially at home. So we're just looking forward to tomorrow, hopefully get another one. There's George Mason.
Before we move on to that, we got to talk about your personal play. You were the co-A-10 player of the week that past week because of the LaSalle game and then the Richmond game. You had a 25-18 game against LaSalle. When you're putting up numbers like that, it's obvious that you're playing confident. But has you become even more confident as the season's gone on? Has it been from start to finish that you felt this year was going to be your year? What has the confidence been like throughout the season?
My confidence has been pretty up there. I just wanted to go out there and win. It wasn't more about me. It was more about my team. I'll take away if I could take away the co-rookie of the player of the week for another W, I definitely will. But unfortunately, we didn't get it. But I'm happy about it. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword because now people are doubling me, and it's a little rough on me on the offensive end. But it was great for me to finally get that. I never got that since I've been here, so it's pretty cool.
Like you say, defenses are really targeting in on you now. Have you ever felt that kind of defensive pressure at your time here at Fordham, knowing that you've really been the top option or one of the top options all season for the Rams?
Not really. I never felt like that. I barely got the ball all 3 years I've been here, so I never really got double. Never had to worry about anything like that. But now it's just kind of frustrating because now I have to actually see where all the other teammates are at. I have to worry about not turning over and things like that. So I'm trying to look at all aspects of the game now that everybody's, actually focusing on me now.
So you mentioned those previous couple of games, the VCU and the St. Joe's games. Those are two tough places to play, and obviously the results not what you guys wanted. As you move over to George Mason, how do you take those couple of results, look at them, examine them, and say, okay, this is how we can improve off those and take them and make them into a positive?
Obviously, our defense got to be way better, myself included. And our offense, we got to be, tremendously better because when I'm getting double like that, there has to be other options. We have to knock down shots. So it's in the past now. We can't really do anything about it now, but move forward. So hopefully we just increase our defense and offense and get more wins.
And just end things off, as you've mentioned, nice to be back at home, especially for a 2-game swing. And then as you get down to the rest of the A-10 schedule, sometimes you got to go back on the road after playing 1 game at home. So will it be a nice, comfortable thing to be here at home for 2 straight games against George Mason and then Dayton on the weekend?
I mean, yeah, it'll be real comfortable to be at home, To first start with George Mason, that's we just got to go out there and play. And then, Dayton's going to be a crazy game to win, and compete with those guys. But, we got to take it 1 game at a time. Just go out there and play George Mason, hopefully get a W out of that, and then come in and recoup ourselves and, worry about Dayton.
Senior forward captain Ryan Rhoomes of the Fordham Rams. Ryan, thanks for giving us some time.
Appreciate it.
That's going to do it for another edition of Rams Roundup, the first here in 2016. Now that we're back, you can see us every week on FordhamSports.com. A big thanks to head coach Jeff Neubauer and senior forward Ryan Rhoomes. The men's team back in action Wednesday night, 7 p.m. here at the Rose Hill Gym, taking on George Mason. That game can be seen live online at the 810 Digital Network. Sunday's game also here at Rose Hill, 4 o'clock against Dayton. The Rams welcoming in the Flyers on CBS Sports Network. For another edition of Rams Roundup, I'm Matt Moro.